Thank you, Mr. Brown. That was a lot of information in a short time. If you're going to remember one thing from Mr. Brown's remarks, remember this: grande mocha frappuccino with an extra shot, okay? I'm going to cover a couple of slides fairly quickly. These, as you know, we are now into the legislative session. As they always say, the next session is going to be the most difficult in history. It's always true, and that's where we are right now. I think the good news is that the legislature convened on Tuesday. That means at the end of today there will only be 137 days left where they can do damage. But it is a busy time in Austin, a lot of issues pending. I think one of the important issues that is floating around right now is how much money does the state really have to spend. As you know, or if you've been following this, the Comptroller, Susan Combs, last week released a revenue estimate which showed significant growth in terms of sales tax and other sources of state revenue. However, there's always a caveat. There were a lot of holes in the budget last time. There were a lot of accounting tricks. There was a lot of things that were basically left underfunded or unfunded, which are mandates. So the way these holes will be filled and the way that revenue will be expended still remains to be seen. Here's the calendar. As I said, it convened on Tuesday, 2 days ago. It is scheduled to adjourn at the end of May. I think there is every expectation that there will be a special session either this summer or this fall. That's due largely to the issues still swirling around in public education. As you know, the state is being sued in terms of equity in public education funding. That suit is not likely to be settled until well after or well into the session, if not after the session. So even though that's a very important topic and something that the legislature will have to address, they are not in a position to address that until the lawsuits are all settled. Two themes to keep in mind as you watch the legislature. You know, as football season ends, this will be the new kind of contact sport to be entertained by as the spring unfolds. There's been a tremendous amount of turnover in both the Senate and the House, as there was last time. And what that means is that we'll have a lot of freshmen and sophomore, second-term representatives and senators who are still kind of learning the ropes. Now, that may sound like just sort of a natural process of growth and evolution, but in fact, it really affects the dynamics of the way decisions get made and the way issues get debated. As I mentioned, revenue is up, but that's not all good news. It's really mixed news because it doesn't. The fact that we have more money doesn't necessarily mean that we have more money to spend on everything. Other pressing issues that are likely to shove their way to the front are issues that have, as they say, being kicked down the road during the last several sessions, having to do with infrastructure, water and transportation primarily. We're really kind of at a crossroads, no pun intended, on both of these issues. Both of them are big-ticket items, and the legislature is feeling a lot of pressure from a lot of regional organizations and citizens on the need to address these. In the area of higher education, not a whole lot of new stuff here beyond what we saw last session. The governor's agenda, which he has been kind of doing a roadshow on with higher education, has 4 points. $10,000 degree, which he first introduced in February 2011, is still one of the planks of his agenda. Fortunately, we are one of the leaders in the state in that initiative. We are producing, and I think due largely to the creativity and efforts of a group of faculty members here, a very far-sighted group of faculty members, coming up with one of the most innovative models for delivering the $10,000 degree that is being developed in the state. The 4-year tuition freeze, this refers to the deal that basically universities would make with students and parents that when they enter as freshmen, they would pay a flat rate if they graduate in 4 years. Outcomes-based funding, of course, we've been hearing about this for many, many years. It continues to be a highly complex issue. It's simple in design, well, I would say simple in concept, but extremely complicated in design. And increased transparency and accountability in all things fiscal. Higher education issues continued here. The legislature, all of our elected officials continue to be concerned about the time it takes for our students to graduate, not just our students, all students. Typical number of hours that it takes for a student to complete a 120-hour degree statewide is somewhere between 145 and 150 hours. And the legislature views that as a waste of resources and a drain on public funds. Texas grants, be on time, tuition, of course, are still key issues. The coordinating board will be working on a new plan to replace closing the gaps. Closing the gaps was begun in 2000 and will reach its terminus in 2015. So the coordinating board is basically working on its next sort of big picture master plan for higher education to take effect when closing the gaps ends. I think another very important issue is the Hazelwood exemption, which provides basically free tuition to veterans who live in Texas. It's a wonderful program. It certainly rewards service to our nation, but it's an unfunded program, and it's really having an impact on lots of universities, ours included. We've already been busy throughout the summer and fall. We've hosted both of our members of our legislative delegation, Senator Dewell and Representative Flynn. We were also very fortunate to have a visit in early December from Representative Dan Branch, who is chairman of the House Higher Education Committee. Visit went very, very well. He seemed to be favorably impressed with what we're doing, and the more we can invite legislators to our campus to see up close and personal what we're all about, the better positioned we are to make our case. Very quickly, in terms of our exceptional item requests and our tuition revenue bond requests for the biennium, these are essentially very similar to the ones we put forward last time. No one knows whether there's going to be any money for these items, but if you don't have something on the table going in, you are assured that there will be nothing on the table for you at the end of the day. We're asking for an additional $5 million to grow our nursing program. We're moving forward with it one way or the other, but the $5 million would allow us to grow quicker, serve more students, and make a much greater impact on the region that we serve. We're also asking for $2.25 million to kind of jumpstart our $10,000 degree initiative, the Texas Affordable Baccalaureate. Again, same concept. We're moving forward one way or the other, but with some additional funding, we could really scale up with this program and make a real difference. I think the two TRB requests are ones that you will recognize. Once again, I think this is probably the fourth or fifth session that this has been number one on our list, a new library. The new feature this time around is to build in a technology center as part of the library and a new general classroom building. Internally, budget planning will kick off in a very engaged fashion in the next week or two when the Budget Review and Development Council begins to meet. And I have not yet given the Budget Review and Development Committee its official charge, but it will be based on the following assumptions: that there will be no increase in tuition and fees for FY 2014, so that will not be an additional source of revenue for the university. It is highly likely that there will be no additional funding for higher education statewide. I think that's a pretty safe assumption. At the same time, I think there is a reasonable likelihood that we will not be facing mid-biennial budget cuts as we did during the last biennium. There's never a promise, but I think there is a little more certainty as we go into this next biennium that we won't be scrambling 6 or 12 months into the biennium to find 5% here and 2.5% there to give back. We still hope to fund a modest merit pool. We don't have a percentage attached to that yet, but that will be fueled by growth. Right now, our growth projections continue to look strong, and we're very hopeful that we will continue our unbroken string of merit pool increases for our deserving faculty and staff. The next slide is a summary of the charge to the Budget Review and Development Council. I'm going to ask the Council to assess the effectiveness of the forced reallocation model that we've had in effect now for the last 3 years. That's where you identify some percentage of your base budget to put back on the table to fund innovation. We've done that for 3 years. We may be reaching a point of diminishing returns. I'd like the Council to take a close look at that to see if that is still an effective way for us to fund innovation. In addition, departmental operating budgets. We really haven't looked at the way those are funded in quite some time. I'm going to ask the Budget Review and Development Council to come up with a metric-driven model for determining the way that departmental operating budgets will be funded and resourced. Same thing in the distribution of faculty lines. We really need some kind of a metric-driven model in the event that we have new funding from growth in making the decision where additional faculty lines should go. That continues to be our highest priority. As we grow, we have to have new faculty to serve those students, but it's not unlimited. We have to make sure that the resources go where they are most needed and where they will be the most effective. So I'm going to ask the Budget Review and Development Council to take a look at that and see if they can give us some help in making those decisions. Again, university-wide, we need to take a look at adjunct faculty. As you know, funding for growth comes after the growth actually occurs. And our stopgap measure, as it is at almost all universities, is to address that growth through adjuncts. Well, that's okay kind of as a one-time emergency measure. The problem is when that becomes a continuing practice, it becomes a threat to quality of instruction. So we want to take kind of a global look at that and see what strategies we can adopt university-wide to make sure that our adjunct instruction does not reach unacceptably high levels. And finally, we're going to revisit the summer school business model. It's a complex model. It's been successful at controlling costs. I want the budget review. We've now had it in effect long enough where I think it's time to draw back and say, is this the best way forward?